Hello and welcome to the Digital Classroom. I'm Jamie Benedict with more tools and techniques for the digital curriculum. This past week I was asked by our TV production team if I would mind recording an interview about how teachers are adjusting to the way school is being taught this year. And I thought this is a great idea. They sent me a list of questions which I loved, and I asked if they would mind if I recorded my answers as part of my Facebook page where I share tips with all of you, and they agreed to that. So here is this interview, and of course, because of the environment that we are currently in, there are only remote interviews being done, and so I get to record my responses and share them with our TV production team, and then I also get to share it with you. So let's take a look at some of these questions here. The first question was, how do you feel this change has affected the way that students participate? And I think that we've seen a couple of things with this. One is when we went fully digital in the spring, one of the things that happened was schools were very lenient with how they approached this, and the situation called for that. This was an unknown situation. This was completely unique. It was something that school districts looked at and said, okay, we don't really want to penalize all of these kids for not understanding how to participate in this environment. They had never had to do this before. So we saw a lot of students taking advantage of that and saying, I'm just not going to participate in class. The school says I don't have to, so I'm not going to do it. And that moment, that was okay. But as we moved into the fall and looked at schools starting again, the schools could not make that decision. Where it was right, I think, in the spring, that was not right for how the fall should look. And so the schools had to make an adjustment and say, hey, this is how we are going to teach starting the school year. And that is something that you have to get used to. A lot of school districts are what's called one-to-one. So they provide laptops or tablets for every student in the class or in the school. And the students have access to technology. A lot of schools and even a lot of internet providers were trying to make sure that students had access to the internet. And so there weren't a lot of excuses that could be made at this point for kids saying, well, I wasn't able to, or I didn't know I had to log in online and participate in the class. And so we've seen a little bit of a delay here because some of those students took that old method of doing things and carried it forward for the first few weeks of school and go, oh, I didn't realize that I had to participate in this. And now they're being told, okay, yes, you do. So we've got the students on board with this. I have great attendance with my classes. I know a lot of other teachers do as well. It's not perfect, but it was not perfect even in the face-to-face setting. I didn't have perfect attendance. And some of that's population, some of that is circumstances, some of that's just seniors being seniors. So I don't have perfect attendance, but I have a pretty good attendance rate for my classes during the fall. As far as participating in the class once they are there, here's a couple of things that I've seen as part of my experience with this, and that is students are very reluctant to turn on their camera. For students to participate, teachers need that face-to-face connection. They need to have that eye contact. I know it's eye contact virtually, but we need to have that. We feed off of that eye contact. So we need to have students turning their cameras on, and students have been very reluctant to do so. Now that means that we have to start integrating that in. Slowly but surely, let's get those kids in there and let's get them turning their cameras on. Show them how to change their background, how to set their settings so that their house necessarily isn't being shown. Some kids are very nervous about that. Show them how they can set it up so that maybe just a window is shown or maybe a wall is shown. And that might be a little bit more, that might make students a little bit more willing to open up and turn on that camera. The other thing that we have to get them to do is turn on the microphone. The chat is great. I like the chat. I use it regularly. I monitor it regularly. But it's only good for small responses, quick answers, things like that. It is not great if you want a detailed explanation. So we've got to get the students comfortable with turning on the microphone and being able to talk to us. There are some challenges with this. A lot of the technology that's available to the students, maybe the camera doesn't work, maybe the microphone doesn't work, and so now they're stuck with just the chat. But this is a skill that I think they have to have, because we are starting to see that college classrooms are going to this method as well. We are also starting to see that job interviews are being done in this format. So they need to be able to see you face to face. They need to be able to have you talk back to them to conduct their job interview. And I don't think that that's going to change drastically in the next 6 months, year. It might not change drastically at all. This is a global society that we live in. So if you are applying for a job and you live in New York and you want to move to the Midwest, companies aren't flying you out anymore to do that. They're saying, hey, I've got Zoom. Let me just interview you virtually. And so they can set up that interview, and you better be able to talk to them face to face. You better be able to turn your camera on and your microphone and be able to get your thoughts across through that format. So I think this is an important skill that we have to teach our students. As far as participating with students in group projects and things like that, I haven't seen a lot of difference there than what I would have seen in the classroom. As long as you show them how the tools work and what they can do to collaborate with other students, they've been pretty good about doing that. So I think that's been a really good step for these students as far as being able to participate in the classroom in some capacity. The second question, how has the change affected the way that I teach? And I love this format. I don't always like just sitting in front of my camera for 7 periods a day. That's not my favorite thing. But I like the flexibility that this format has given me. And I have been very cognizant of trying to find ways for students to do things a little bit differently and still give me what I'm looking for. Show me that they understand the content. And so I've liked that. One of the things that I don't like is I'm a big engagement person. I like to have that interaction with students. And I do find that I've spent a lot more time talking than I normally would. I'm not a big lecture teacher anymore. I used to be, but as I've grown to incorporate digital, at least in the face-to-face setting, then I've been able to get away from that a lot more. That's harder to do when you don't have that interaction, when you can't go around and help students with certain things. It becomes a little bit more challenging. So that's the one change that I've seen in how I've had to approach this, is I'm trying to get them to engage more, but in doing so, I'm talking a lot more, and I don't like that. I don't like that way of doing things as much. So I'm working, as this is going to prolong, or progress forward, and we're going to be out of the classroom more, or we're going to be hybrid more, then I'm working on finding ways to get the students more active and me less active in the lesson. What benefits do I see in online learning? There's so many benefits. Again, the flexibility of being able to interact with students a little bit differently, the flexibility and the resources that I have available that I can use with students, and also the flexibility that the students have with resources and being able to create content for me and submit their work. I love having all of that available. I think that is the best, because we can actually teach these kids how to use the computer. And for years, we keep being told that teenagers are tech savvy. Don't worry, they'll adapt to the computer. Teenagers are not that tech savvy. And so when they have this computer in front of them, they can't make it do all the things that we want them to do. So I do find that it's great as an opportunity for me to be able to teach them some computer skills and show them, hey, this is what you can do if you use this program, or here's what you can do if you use this program. If you use this part of this program and you try this, then you can make this happen. And so I find that there's a lot of technology skills that I'm able to demonstrate for students as part of the assignments that I want them to complete, and demonstrating the learning that I want. I actually can see the integration there a little bit better. Yes, that takes more time on my part, but it's something that I think is so transferable that it's worth taking the extra time to show them those skills and demonstrate those skills. I also think that just because, we're doing this right now, these kids very short-sighted and thinking, well, this is going to end and we'll go back to school as usual. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to see opportunities open up here, especially at the college level, where we're going to be able to have teachers in one part of the world teaching students in another part of the world, whether that's inside the country or whether it's around the world. And we're going to open up opportunities for students to really get the most out of education. And online is the way to do that. And I think this is just a great step forward. It's kind of pushed us in a direction that we should have been going anyway. So I really like that part of the online learning. What is the craziest thing that happened to me in online learning? Okay, I guess we have to go to the embarrassing story with this here. And that is that as adept as I am at using technology in the classroom, and I'm pretty good with the different web conferencing tools, I really spent one day, and I don't know why the students didn't even stop me on this one. I'm a little bit surprised. Maybe they were just enjoying it. I spent probably 5 or 6 minutes where I was trying to communicate with students and I had my mute button on. And I don't even know why that happened. I don't know how it happened. It's just one of those weird things. And then I looked at it and I was like, what in the world what am I doing? How have I been talking this long with the mute button on? Usually the kids will chime in and say, Mr. Benedict, I think you're muted. And then I look and go, oh yeah, I meant to do that. But in this particular case, I think they just kind of enjoyed watching me go, and they were trying to time it and see how long I would teach with that mute button on, and how long it would take me to realize that was the case. And that might be my most embarrassing moment in all of this, and having to explain to the students, no, I'm really not that crazy. I'm really not even that bad at this. I'm pretty good at it. And I just made one of those weird mistakes that I guess any teacher can make. Probably all have. But I think that's probably the craziest thing I've seen so far. I haven't had a lot that has happened as far as like outsiders and anything like that. Nothing that I haven't been in control of. Everything that's been crazy for me has been in my control. It's been my fault. And let's see, the last question here. What is your favorite part of online learning? I've loved almost all of it. I really have. Other than I spend my time talking more than I think I should, I've really enjoyed it. But I think my favorite part is being able to bring computer skills to teachers and students and try to make things a little bit easier for everyone. And that has been one of my goals. It's my goal with my Facebook page here, The Digital Classroom. It has been my goal when I got my master's degree in educational design and instructional design and technology. That has been my goal. Is I've wanted to make instruction better for teachers and students through the use of technology, whether that is 100% remote or whether that is in a blended environment where we have computers in the classroom one-to-one with students, or if it's in a hybrid mode where we have half of our students at home and half of our students at school. I wanted to really explore that side of things, and so I've tried to put together some tutorial videos that will help both groups. I'm going to do a lot more for students in the coming weeks to try to create some videos that will help them understand and use the technology the best way possible for their classes. How can I get the most out of this environment? And at this point, all we can do is make the best of this situation. We're not putting a Band-Aid on this. We're making the best of it. And we're going to try to make sure that we're delivering our instruction the best way we know how, to make sure students are learning the best way that we know how. And we're going to do the job that teachers are trained to do. We're just doing it in a different format. And so let's find ways to make this work for everyone. And let's make this a great environment for learning. And then whenever we get to come back face to face and we get to do our thing, hey, then we go right back to teaching, and maybe we stay with a blended environment, and now we learn how to integrate the computers into the classroom. And I'm already finding that when we come back face to face, because we're one-to-one, I'm already finding a lot of uses for continuing to use Microsoft Teams in a regular classroom. I think there's some benefits that can be found there, and I'm trying to work on some strategies to make that continue to work for me and do the best that we can there. So I really like the format. I like what we've accomplished so far, and I think that there's a lot more positives that we are going to see when this is all done than there are negatives that we're going to see when this is all done. So I've really enjoyed that part of this process. I know it's not the same for every teacher. I know this experience is challenging for many, but I think if we all work together, then we can find the best solutions for our classes, and that is ultimately the goal for this scenario, and certainly for education as a whole. So thank you to my TV production team for putting this interview together. I have really enjoyed being a part of this remote interview. I love the questions. I think they were excellent. And I hope that we ask more. Bring more questions, because I love these. And I had a great time being a part of this. I'm also happy to be able to share this with my Digital Classroom Facebook page and my audience there. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this process, and answer the questions on your own and try this for yourself and see where you're actually getting the most out of your classroom. This is a great self-reflection tool. I've loved that. Thank you for joining me today in the Digital Classroom. As always, make sure that you have liked my Facebook page. Feel free to share this content with others that you think would like to know more about how to incorporate technology into the classroom. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Digital Classroom so that you don't miss any of the tutorial videos or other content that gets posted there. Leave a comment for me and let me know how online instruction is going for you. I would love to hear your story. Use these questions as a great reflection and let me know what you think. And if there's any videos that you would like to see from the Digital Classroom, let me know in the comments section so that I can start working on those. I'm Jamie Benedict for the Digital Classroom, and until next time, class is dismissed.